You know, life is a strange journey. We meet people, we share moments, and sometimes in the quiet of our hearts, we realize we really love someone. And that's not just a feeling, it's a choice, a brave, honest choice. Today, I want to talk about that, about love, about connection, and about the courage it takes to say, I really love you. Because saying it isn't just words, it's standing in truth, standing in vulnerability, and letting someone else see the real you. I want to talk to you about something that is simple yet powerful, something that moves quietly beneath the surface of everything we do. It's a truth we all recognize in fleeting moments, in sudden clarity, in the gentle stillness of our hearts when the world slows down enough for us to listen. I really love you. Those words are simple, yet they carry the weight of lifetimes. They carry the honesty of vulnerability, the bravery of openness, and the warmth of connection that no one else can truly replicate. Saying them is not an act of performance or of obligation, it is an act of courage. To say these words is to stand in the rawness of our own hearts and invite someone else to see the truth of who we are. And in that act, there is a magic, a quiet resonance that touches something deep in both people, something timeless, something beyond explanation. Love, real love, is not always loud. It is not always dramatic. It does not always come with grand gestures or declarations on stages or screens. It often comes softly, almost imperceptibly. It comes in the way someone listens when we speak, in the way someone waits when we stumble, in the small, unnoticed acts of presence that accumulate over time. To love is to notice. To love is to care enough to be fully present, without expectation, without demand. And when we say, I really love you, we are acknowledging that presence, that noticing, that connection. We are naming something essential that exists whether the other person acknowledges it or not. And in that naming, we honor the other person's existence as deeply as we honor our own. I've realized over time that love is not only about joy, though it brings joy like sunlight after rain. It is also about patience, about persistence, about holding space for another person to be exactly who they are without trying to shape them or change them to fit a mold. It is about understanding that we are all flawed, that we are all learning, that we are all searching for meaning and connection in a world that can feel vast and overwhelming. When we say, I really love you, we are not claiming perfection. We are not promising a flawless journey or an unending path of certainty. We are promising presence. We are promising attention. We are promising the willingness to walk alongside someone in both light and shadow, in ease and in struggle, in silence and in laughter. Love is patient in ways we often underestimate. It asks us to see the world through another's eyes, to feel the pulse of another's heart, to inhabit their fears and dreams as if they were our own. It asks us to lean into discomfort, to confront our own insecurities, to recognize our own capacity for failure and still choose to remain. To say I really love you is to embrace all of that. It is to acknowledge that love is messy, that love is complicated, and yet love is worth every quiet act of bravery. It is worth the vulnerability it demands, because in that vulnerability we discover something extraordinary. That connection is real, that human hearts can touch in ways that transcend time, space, and circumstance. I have seen how powerful love can be in its quiet forms. It does not always make noise, but it reshapes the world in subtle, lasting ways. It inspires us to act with kindness, to offer patience when we would rather judge, to forgive when we would rather hold on to resentment. It asks us to look beyond the surface, beyond the convenience of appearances, to see the core of someone's being. When we love, we recognize the infinite complexity of another soul, and yet we accept it wholly. And in that acceptance, we find a reflection of our own humanity. We find understanding, empathy, and the recognition that we are not alone, that we are part of a larger story, one in which connection is not just a fleeting sentiment, but the very essence of what it means to be alive. To say I really love you is to admit that someone else matters to us in a way that nothing else can replicate. It is a declaration not of possession, but of acknowledgement. It is not about control, it is about reverence. When we say it, we are saying, I see you, I honor you, I am here for you without conditions, without masks, without pretense. And that recognition, once felt, has the power to transform. It can soften hardened hearts. It can heal unspoken wounds. It can inspire hope where doubt once lingered. Love is not always easy. It does not always come when we expect it or in the form we desire, but when it is real, when it is felt deeply and expressed authentically, it becomes a force that shapes everything around it. Sometimes love asks for courage that we do not realize we possess. It asks us to confront fear, to step beyond the walls we have built around ourselves, to risk embarrassment, rejection, or misunderstanding. And yet, that risk is exactly what makes love powerful. To say, I really love you, is to step into that risk fully, knowing that the outcome is not guaranteed, but that the act itself is meaningful. There's a purity in that gesture, a clarity, a key of quiet heroism that is overlooked in a world obsessed with spectacle and achievement. The courage to love, to truly love, is one of the most radical acts we can undertake. It is a rebellion against cynicism, against apathy, against the numbing patterns of everyday life. It is a choice to embrace life fully, to embrace another fully, to embrace the vulnerability and beauty that make us human. Love is not about grand statements or perfect timing. It is about presence, about attention, about noticing the small threads that weave our lives together. It is in the morning texts that say, I thought of you. It is in the hands that reach for ours in moments of fear. It is in the patience to listen, the willingness to understand, the humility to admit our own mistakes. And when we say, I really love you, we are recognizing all of these small acts, all of these moments of connection, and we are giving them meaning. We are telling someone that their existence, their choices, their very being is significant. We are telling them that they are seen, that they are valued, that they are worthy of love, not for what they do, but for who they are. Sometimes love is quiet. Sometimes it doesn't arrive in thunderous declarations or dramatic gestures. Sometimes it is a whisper, barely noticeable, yet it moves through life with persistence, shaping everything it touches. To say, I really love you, is to recognize that quiet power, that subtle force that binds one heart to another. It is not about expectation or reward. It is not about convenience or comfort. It is about truth. When we speak those words, we are not merely expressing affection, we are acknowledging something essential, something that exists independently of circumstance or performance. We are admitting that someone else matters to us in ways that we cannot fully measure, and yet that mattering is the foundation of our own humanity. Love teaches patience. It teaches us to wait without anxiety, to observe without judgment, to listen without preparing a response. In a world that moves quickly, that demands results and measurable outcomes, love is radical because it is unhurried. It does not impose deadlines. It does not demand proofs. It simply asks us to be present, to notice the subtle shifts in mood, the quiet gestures, the moments of vulnerability. Saying, I really love you, is a promise to inhabit that patience. It is a promise to notice when words are insufficient, when actions speak louder than intentions, when silence holds more meaning than any speech. It is a promise that the other person's experience, their presence, and their journey matters profoundly. Real love is not about perfection. It is not about flawless timing, flawless actions, or flawless emotions. It is about recognition, acceptance, and the willingness to stay, even when the landscape is difficult, even when challenges arise, even when fears and insecurities surface. Love asks us to confront our own limitations, to examine the walls we have built around our hearts, and to invite someone else in despite the risk. Saying, I really love you, is an act of courage because it exposes those walls, it exposes vulnerability, and it opens space for authenticity. And in that openness, there is freedom, the freedom to see and be seen, the freedom to connect in ways that are real and lasting, the freedom to trust in the beauty and resilience of human hearts. Love grows in unexpected ways. It does not follow scripts. It does not adhere to timelines we set. It emerges in moments that often go unnoticed. The shared glance in a crowded room, the subtle understanding in a difficult conversation, the willingness to forgive when pain has been inflicted. Saying, I really love you, is to honor those moments. It is to recognize that love is an accumulation of small, deliberate acts of presence and attention. It is in those acts that love finds its depth, its endurance, and its meaning. It is not measured by grand declarations alone, but by the consistency, the intention, and the dedication that quietly sustain it over time. To love is to embrace imperfection. It is to acknowledge that the people we care about will make mistakes, will falter, will disappoint at times, and yet we remain. We remain not out of obligation, not out of expectation, but because the connection we feel is greater than transient frustrations or conflicts. Saying, I really love you, is to affirm that connection, to declare that it is resilient, flexible, and enduring. It is to recognize that love is not fragile, even if it feels delicate. It can withstand distance, misunderstandings, and uncertainty, not because it is invincible, but because it is chosen repeatedly in acts both large and small. Love is transformative. It changes the way we see the world, ourselves, and others. It softens judgments, opens hearts, and reveals dimensions of life we might have ignored or overlooked. When we say, I really love you, we are acknowledging that transformative power. We are saying that someone else has touched us so deeply that we cannot remain the same. We are admitting that their presence, their essence, has reshaped our understanding of empathy, patience, and courage. It is a recognition that love is not passive, it is active. It requires attention, effort, and an ongoing willingness to engage with another person's reality as if it were our own. Sometimes, love asks us to be brave in ways we did not know we could be. It asks us to confront fear, to step outside of comfort zones, to risk rejection, misunderstanding, or disappointment. But it is precisely in that risk that love demonstrates its profound depth. To say, I really love you, is to take that risk openly and honestly. It is to place trust in another, to admit that we care so deeply that our own sense of security, pride, or control is secondary to connection. And in that act, there is a profound liberation, a liberation that comes from being seen, from seeing, and from embracing the vulnerability that defines the human experience. Love is not always easy to articulate. Words often fall short of the depth we feel in our hearts. Actions sometimes fail to convey the full extent of our care. Yet when we say, I really love you, we are doing something remarkable. We are translating emotion into intention, translating thought into commitment, translating the abstract into a shared reality. It is a bridge built between hearts, a bridge that does not demand perfection, but does require honesty. It is in that honesty, in that willingness to be real, that love takes form and becomes something tangible, something that can endure challenges, weather storms, and continue to grow. The power of love lie as not only in grand moments, but also in ordinary, everyday experiences. Love is in the smile that meets our own after a difficult day. It is in the gentle touch that communicates understanding without words. It is in the presence that is offered freely without expectation of repayment. To say, I really love you, is to recognize the profound significance of these moments. It is to give them name, to honor them, and to acknowledge the quiet, steady heartbeat of